Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode 65 of Aspire to Inspire, where we interview industry professionals. Well, today, nonetheless, is no different than any guests we have here on this platform. I have the honor and privilege of having an insightful conversation with casting director, producer Maureen Pierre. I'm just going to state her bio for you guys real quickly to get a gist of who she is. So, Maureen is a dynamic producer, casting executive, and advocate whose journey spans from Chicago to Los Angeles, currently serving as head of casting, talent, and production executive at Imani Media Group. Maureen oversees casting and production for a diverse slate of projects. Her credits include stage plays, docuseries, short films, and digital content. And through her company, EnVe, she continues to mentor and empower emerging filmmakers and actors while also creating platforms that amplify underrepresented voices. So without further ado, I get to bring Maureen to the stage. Hi, Maureen. How are you? Oh, love, I have you muted. Hold on.
Oh.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Oh my goodness. It feels like this conversation was bound to happen. So I'm so excited to finally have the opportunity to highlight you and your work and all the amazing things you do behind the scenes. And now I got you in front of the camera for once, which is awesome. I love it. I love it. So here at Aspire to Inspire, let's just take it from the beginning, shall we? I would love to know how you got your start in this business that we like to call the entertainment industry. And where did the love of storytelling, casting, wanting to produce really come from for you? Take it from the beginning.
From the beginning, man, honestly, since I was young, I've always wanted to be in entertainment. So it started off my love for music. I've always wanted to sing, dance, and, I'd be in dance classes, in choir, and different things of that nature. And when I was in fifth grade, I wrote a Dear Me letter that was like, I want to be a singer. I want to be a dancer, move to LA, and so I've just always wanted to be that way. And I would always emulate actors on TV. And so, entertainment was always a huge part of my upbringing, from dancing, from just listening to music or watching movies and going out with friends. And so I think it was just destined, for me too. And then when I moved out to LA, I was like, all right, let's make this push. My early 20s was like, let's do this. I've always wanted to do it. I studied psychology and thought, going the route of school was what I was supposed to do. As all of us, like, we don't have that support system. My family is very academics, and so not many of us, I don't even think anyone in my family, took that stretch to either move out of the state or move into entertainment. It's like, what are you doing? And so I was one of the few ones that was like, let's take this leap and let's just follow dreams, right? And so
I love it.
I moved here, and luckily I had my best friend here because LA is different. Growing up in the suburbs, like LA is very, very different. And so but I knew I had goals that I needed to pursue. And so I'm more introverted. And so I thought like, yes, I want to be in the limelight. I'm going to be, this superstar. And it's like, yeah, girl, but you got to be in front of the camera too, and so to be it. And so, I was taking acting classes, and then I started taking this hosting class with Bianca B. Shout out to Bianca. And from there, like, it was so much fun. She taught us all about hosting and being in front of camera, and we had like different workshops, and I would go with her on red carpet events. And so from there, she had the Bianca B show, and she's like, hey, do you want to be a PA? And I was like, sure. That's like my little entry into production. And she's like, hey, do you want to help me produce? I was like, yeah, and so that's the start of being behind and booking talent. So that was a little preview into casting. I didn't realize that it would evolve into this, being head of casting. So, and then I worked on short form content. It was myself and Gino and, a small crew. I was the boom. I was, scheduler. I was everything and I'm your every woman kind of girl, and so then from there got connected with Manny Gallant at Imani Media Group. I'm kind of like fast forwarding a little bit, but Then I came here and evolved from I was first, second AD. First, they were looking for a first AD. Then they looked at me and was like, no, you're not first AD. So I went into second AD, which I'm like, that's where honestly my stronger suit was more of the scheduling, more, the talent contact. And so because with second AD, you are interfaced with talent, to get their schedules, to make sure they have all the information, the scripts, the days, and everything that they need in order for them to be prepared for set. And so then I got into background casting. And you see, I'm kind of skipping because I also did music videos. So I've always had like my little hand in
Yeah, you had your hands in
you
different
know,
stuff. I love
um,
it.
different things. And so got into background casting because I used to do background for music videos and like different short films. And I loved just because we're the atmosphere, you know what I mean? Is like, although everyone wants to be principal, but background actors are just as important, and coming from that world, I was like, all right, perfect. Now I get to give that opportunity too, and background selection. Yeah, you could do kettle calls where it's just everyone, but then there are times where you have to be selective, and so even honing in on the skills of choosing different actors for certain roles as background. So that was fun. And then now fast forward to now, head of casting and being able to discover and amplify voices that you don't really get to hear often. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. First of all, beautiful story of the then and now. I was just like on the edge of my seat, like just in terms of getting into casting, it just seems like it's just you find yourself in that world and it kind of grows
Mhm.
and develop into something that, you currently do today, which is honestly truly amazing doing background, going into
Mhm.
second AD work and kind of figuring out schedules and working with talent.
Mhm.
It's a nice reflecting moment. I love asking people that question because it's a
Mhm.
moment to reflect and kind of see how
Mhm.
much you've grown and everything that you've accomplished now. It's kind of amazing to hear, but also to witness as well.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, and it's crazy, that question. And when you're like, send me your bio, and I'm like, and say what? I think oftentimes you forget all the things that you've amount, because you're always so busy chasing the next. You're like, hey, I need to be here. I need to do this and do that. But it's like, no, girl. Why you are where you need to be, and I believe in divine timing and how our stars are always aligned, because sometimes it's like, oh, like I've had missed opportunities where like when Issa Rae first was looking for production assistants, and their email was like, hey, we're just looking for anyone. Anyway, and I'm like, yes, I can do this, and this was like early, like, so maybe like 2015ish, I want to say, and I thought I could do it, but I second guessed myself, and I was like, what do I say? They just want anyone. Do I have the skills? Do I have the knowledge? Do I have, all these things? But at times it's like, no, whatever you want, just put your best foot forward and go after it. Like that was the opportunity. And so from there, that was a huge lesson learned of, when you have an open-ended opportunity that way, jump on it. You either fail or you succeed. And in your failing moments, you always learn lessons anyhow, and so it's like there's never really a failing moment, it's always opportunities to succeed for the next trial. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. You never really fail, and the opportunities are always aligned. I believe in that so wholeheartedly. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's what this platform is about, divine timing. Everything happens according to reason. And transitioning from here, I would love to just talk about your first experience with casting, being a casting
Mhm.
director. For those who are watching who may not understand the role of a casting director, the question is as simple as it states: what is a casting director and what is your role as a casting director over a project?
So casting directors, whew, that's a loaded question, but pretty much seeking talent and placing them in stories that may fit for them, collaborating with the producers, directors, and really seeing the vision of the story and being able to place various talent, actors, performers, actresses into this role that we can now develop into stories. And I believe casting is one of those roles where, yes, it sounds easy, but it's not always. I mean, it's hours of going through submissions, it's hours of, you have to trust your instincts of, is this the right fit? Is it not? And then oftentimes, sometimes you're so excited about someone, but the director, the producers are like, no, we got to go this way, we got to go that way. And so sometimes it's like, oh, like I want it, and so it's not always about us in this role. And so in my process, like sometimes I'm rushed and that I need to make, decisions very quickly, within like hours or overnight. But when I do have the time, I love to set up like, I do use access. So my process starts first with the script. I break it down through first, I go through my lens, through my experiences and my lens. I read the script and see, okay, what calls out to me? What kind of actors or players do I see in this type of role? Actors that I'm familiar with, or even actors that, or even characters I create in my head, like, oh, they should look like this, they should look like that. And so after I do my breakdown, then I'm internal with Imani Media Group. So typically I'll go to Yolanda or Manny first. Hey, well, what are we thinking for these roles? I have this character breakdown. Sometimes you get them from writers, sometimes you don't. And so if I have to create my own character breakdown, I do ask like, hey, when you guys are reading this, what do you guys think? And then once we get a director attached, the same question for them. Hey, like in this, what are you thinking? How are you feeling about these certain actors? And then from there, I get a short list or even a long list, depending on, if it's leads, a long list, some other roles, shorter list. And then I present it. And a lot of times I'll put up a breakdown in Actors Access, Casting Networks. I know one time I put up a casting call. It was my very, very first time casting. This was on the background side. And we needed, bodies, and it was for Legacy. I remember it's out now on BT Plus. Episodes 1, 2, and 3. And so when I first had to cast background for it, I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna look. So I put up a casting call and I was like, and so-and-so's attached, and so-and-so's attached. The actors called Yolanda like, I just see my name here. I was like, oh, so it's like you learn over time as casting, like the faux pas of what to do, what not to do. And confidentiality is one a priority that now that I am you can't get anything from me.
Yeah.
But so it is definitely a beautiful process, because after the heavy lifting, after the work of, going through submissions, looking through headshots, going through auditions, then you start to narrow it down to like your 3 to 5 people, and you're like, okay, perfect, let's bring them in. And just that interaction that you get, that energy you get from performers. And sometimes, people surprise you. You think of them one way, you see a headshot and you think that, hey, this is what I'm casting. They come in and audition, you're like, oh, that's what I'm casting, let's go. And so you have moments, and then there's times where you're like, next time, next time. And
Yeah,
so
a gracious,
you
a
go
gracious
through,
next time.
yeah, so you go through definitely journeys. And sorry to get long-winded about this. I could talk about this all day,
Oh,
but
we love to hear it. Please don't stop. Please, you're doing
yeah,
fantastic.
so it's see, back to the process of it. Yeah, and then for my role, because I'm hands-on with head of casting and on the production side, and we do everything internally. So from there, once we get the actors that we want to book, we go into negotiating with, hey, check and avail, like, hey, are you interested for the role, one? And then two, are you available for this time frame? And then after that, what are your deals? So anything from their compensation all the way to, their deal terms. And then from there, draft that contract. And then from there, get them the schedule. Now
Yeah.
I'm building out the team, but before I used to be, again, all every woman, going step to step, like from getting them from the audition process all the way to on set, and then even afterwards following up and then booking them for the premiere. So very involved with what we do here. And I believe some casting directors, they have different experiences, but for me, it's definitely very hands-on.
Yeah, I love the fact that with your process, you kind of have developed your own way of doing so. And the great thing of working with a set of people that you are familiar with and worked with before, you kind of have your own system. So it gives you the freedom. And I would love to ask, in terms of the creative process, and of course, from your career thus far, of all the projects you've cast, those far, of all the projects, is there one particular project that you have done that was the hardest to cast, or maybe there was a trial or tribulation moment that you had to learn and pivot from, that you kind of carried along with yourself to know, like, okay, I won't do this again, but this was definitely a learning experience for me. Could you share a moment like that?
Yeah, well, one, don't put who's attached
Oh,
on,
aside
casting
from
calls
that,
unless it's public knowledge, but
of
definitely
course.
keep that confidential. But outside of that, that's a great question because every project is a learning experience, I think one of the most challenging ones were casting for the biopic. We have a feature film, Aftershock, the Nicole Bell story. It takes place in New York, and it's about, Sean Bell, who was murdered the morning of his wedding day. And so for that, we actually had to cast real life, or simulated, portraying real life characters, right? And so with that is I had a little bit of anxiety to wanting to make sure that I do the families and the story justice, and it was great. The director Z that we worked with, she was amazing, and Yolanda, and even Nicole was very hands-on in the process, but sometimes it's hard to find the exact look of, you're trying to find Al Sharpton, you're trying to find Larry King, and it's just like, do these people really look like them? And then it's like, oh yeah, there's hair and makeup, but sometimes and especially it's a short time. And so, and I think that's really the challenging part, is something like that, is being against the clock and trying to make sure that you're choosing the right person to portray these roles. And I will have to say that we did an amazing job with that story. And I believe that every single character portrays the real life, the real life people. And it's one of those things on also being taking myself out of the story because I was so attached to it personally. And that's another thing of casting, is that, I get so enthralled in these stories. I'm like, it has to be this way, it has to be perfect, or we can't do it, and it's like, no, you got to make a decision because light camera's going up, and so just really allowing myself to trust myself and allowing the let go process, and I've learned that from acting. I love the Ivana Chubbuck's method, and I still apply that a little bit into my casting process, because sometimes it's like understanding where the actors are coming from. And then on the other side, it's like, all right, I did all that I can do, and now let it be there. Let the cameras, the actors speak for themselves. And I will have to say, I believe like 99.9%, there's not one actor I'm like, oh, I should have went somewhere different. It's like, no, no, no. They did more and beyond. And I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to giving people light, because even in Aftershock or any of the projects that we cast, I try to find, yes, we have names because that's what the networks want, right? So we have to go after names, but being able to cast people that maybe they don't really have a big resume. Maybe this is their first role. Maybe this is, and a lot of first role timers, they do such an amazing job, and it's just like, yeah, this is what I love, is seeking out the talent.
Yeah, the biggest thing I took away from what you just said is the trust factor that you've been able to develop within yourself, which is something so relatable across the spectrum of all areas of life. Having that instinct to trust that, okay, I know what I'm doing, I've done this before. And also the fact that you can trust and eye the talent for that specific role, for that specific project, and just leave it alone. You know what I mean? I think that's so important to understand, and to also to kind of just grow throughout your career. And oh my gosh, I love hearing just real life situations and stories from casting directors, because it's just such a human thing. Like, I think, and this kind of segues to my next question, we sometimes view casting directors as just like not people, and just like just people that are like the gateway
Mhm.
for this role or for this project. But you guys are cheering for us just as much as we
Yes.
are cheering for ourselves for the role. And you guys are just, being the people in the, not in the way, but in the direction of producers and directors and writers.
Mhm.
You guys cheer for us just as much as we're cheering for the roles. So I think that's
Yeah.
just something so important to take away, especially from an actor's perspective. You
Yeah,
know what I
no,
mean?
seriously. And it was so funny. I was just last night. Sometimes I look at casting forums and different things, and a new casting director was asking, like, "Hey, an actor is asking for feedback. Like, do I give it? What do you guys do? Do you guys typically?" And to be honest, it is hard. Like, especially when you're just in the middle of it and you're seeing like thousands of submissions and actors for a particular role. It is hard to like give feedback to every single person, but I do try my best, to, even if you're in the room or not, is it's giving that, because yes, not everyone's going to be in the project that they want to be in, but being able to let you guys know, like, no, you did your best. Or, if there are things that people could work on, it's like, hey, make sure you're taking your classes, make sure you're doing this, or, giving critical feedback, I think definitely helps. But yes, you're right. We are rooting for you because it makes our job easier. You don't understand. Like, if you come in, give your all, and and a lot of times you don't have to memorize the script so much. It's nice if you do, but don't be so caught up. It's more about what do you do with the scene and how much direction you can take, right? And so if you're pleasant, if you're able to be professional, you take direction and show us a variety of what you can do with the characters, and really immerse yourself in that, you got it. And then sometimes there are things in the background that, unfortunately, although you did such an amazing job, there are things in the background happening that someone else gets the role, but it has nothing to do with you. But it's like, yes, we got your back, we're in your corner, because when you win, we win. So yes.
I love that. I love that. Now with self-tapes, this
Mhm.
self-tapes aren't going anywhere. That's just the surefire fact. But what I would love to hear from your perspective, and of course you've seen tons of self-tapes and you've been in plenty of rooms. What do you think is one of the biggest advice and or wisdom you can share with actors when it comes to auditioning for self-tapes in particular? Then I'm going to segue to a next question.
Okay. Making sure your technical is, a par, like making sure that we can hear you, we can clearly see you, and, you are following the frame size. I don't need to see this big Y. It sometimes I've seen self tapes where it was just too far back, and you're like, I'm kind of distracted. What's that in the corner? And so it's like making sure that you are the focus and that we are drawn into your performance. Um, and I would say have fun. It's daunting to audition, being on the side of auditioning. I totally, totally get it. Like, I've done 1,000 takes, and I have to remind myself as well, like, have fun, have fun, have fun, And so it is what it is. Know that you did your best, know that you submitted on time, and you did your all. But really, that tech, and make sure your sound is clear, in your readers. I don't know if we talk about that enough. And I know it's hard to find readers. And I can't remember, there are some sites where now people kind of exchange information, like, hey, do you need a reader for this date? Definitely sign up for those type of, groups. But having a reader that, one, isn't overpowering, your voice, or doing too much, that we could clearly hear them, but then we're really focused on you. There's been people who I'm like, oh, I think I want to cast the reader, because it's like they're giving me more life than what I'm seeing on screen.
Wow.
So it's definitely having that balance of definitely a professional reader, but then also one that doesn't overtake your performance as well.
That's powerful. Yeah, readers aren't talked about a much, like a lot, really. And especially with, just even hearing from different casting directors like yourself or people within the industry in terms of self tapes. Yeah, we hear the technical a lot, but let's talk about the importance of having a reader not overpower the actor in a self tape and how that can be so distracting. But that's definitely something that needs to be talked about more. I've heard it very rarely, but that's actually a really good tip. I didn't even think in terms of that, but that's a really really great tip. And my segue question is, in terms of self tapes or being in the room, do you have a particular preference from your
Yes.
experience as well? Please tell
Yes.
me. Please tell me.
I love live auditions because in self tape, I mean, yes, the convenience and the ease of self tapes, right? Because then I can always go back, or I can just save it, and if another role comes up, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this self tape, So it is. There's a lot of convenience and ease to it. But for me, I'm an energy type of person, and so I love being in the room with actors and just reading with them or having someone read with them and seeing what they can do. So I prefer live auditions. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's good because I think a lot of actors, not I think, I know a lot of actors enjoy being in the room. I'm definitely one of them. But it's like you said, it is an energy exchange that
Mhm.
happens. I mean, of course, we have nerves, we get anxious,
Mhm.
things happen, it's human nature. But at the same time, you can tell a lot regarding an
Mhm.
actor or even the people sitting across the table, just the energy in the room. It's almost undeniable, if I could say
Yeah.
that. It's
No,
almost undeniable.
seriously. And the second part of it is that you're able to give in real time feedback, right? Hey, can you just do this take again or say it this way? Is self tapes is like, all right, now we got to do callbacks. We got to see, if and so it's a little different. Self tapes, I think there's almost like a little wall that kind of keeps you, a little separated. And so it's like when you're in-person auditions, you're face to face, and it's like, and of course, like I don't like to make decisions immediately. I'm a thinker, and so sometimes I've learned over time to be a little quicker in my thought processes in choosing actors, but then I'm able to kind of sit back afterwards and see other people and just put them all together and seeing. And then also you could do chemistry reads. It's like, hey, I liked how that person did it, I like how that other actor did, let's get them in the room like right now. Like everything just can happen very quickly in real time, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that for sure as well. And something that I also want to talk about, I mean, networking. I mean, that is such a huge thing in the industry and definitely the trajectory I feel like the industry is going right now. Networking is always going to be king in my eyes.
Mhm.
So, in terms of actors viewing yourself as a casting director, what is the best approach, obviously, in your opinion, on how a fellow actor, and this can span on all ends of the industry, a producer, a writer, a director, can approach and or network with an individual like yourself? What is your preferred approach, or if there's something you prefer best?
um you know that's a good question because I'm pretty open. It's like I'm very approachable, and I think what's nice is like my team are as well. And so, but I do believe read the room. And so it's like, hey, if someone's like in a rush, like there's been times where it's like, all right, I've been in this room all day, and so now it's time to leave. And it's like now someone's stopping, like, hey, can I ask you? And it's like, yes. It's so, and so that quick exchange, and maybe they haven't seen me around or so, but I definitely think that being pleasant, giving people their space, but also being professional on when you're approaching different people, because you don't know what they have going on. And so networking is one of those things that I love when people have different networking workshops and different things, because there's an art to it. It's either you can be too much or too recluse. Like if you're too quiet, you don't get to meet people, right? If you're just that observer in the room. And so what I try to do, like we went over to Cannes and Martha's Vineyard for their film festival. And what I've told myself is that, hey, try to at least make 5 contacts in a day. And if I didn't reach that 5 contacts, it's like, all right, tomorrow let's try to reach that 5. And even I give myself pep talks again, like I'm a little more to myself, and so that social, I love being social, but I also love to be by myself social, if that makes sense.
Oh,
I
I
love
understand
just
that.
my two friends, and we're but I've definitely pushed myself a little bit more. And and being real, being casual, like sometimes it's not just about talking about work, because like when you're making these business transactions or work, it's like you also want to know who's in your bed, in a sense of can I be with this person for 8 hours, 12 hours, or, for a long period of time? Is this a business that I want to be in? Because at the end of the day, it's easy to do business, right? It's the personality side of things that, and the energies and the what comes afterwards and the follow up is really what's key.
Yeah, most definitely. Following up. Oh my goodness. Imagine of all the networking you do and you don't follow up, it's like a double-edged sword, most definitely.
Yes,
And
I'm
it's
learning
so
that.
hard. Yeah, no, definitely. Oh man, I learned that the hard way. But in
Mhm.
terms of just the importance of staying in contact with people, and also I love how you explained it. It's a there's an approach, and to be able to identify which approach, I think it can take you a little bit further in terms of just like, hi, how are you, when in the moment a person's trying to leave and you
Mhm.
stop them. It's just like, kind of use free will, and also
Yeah,
what's best and what's smart for this given moment. Oh my
yeah.
goodness, I'm having so much talking to you, like so much fun
Yeah,
talking to
this is
you.
so much fun. I was
I
like,
enjoyed this so much. No, like
yes.
honestly, at times it can feel like, wow, like I never really get to sit down and have a conversation with anyone nowadays. But now when
Mhm.
you're in the zone and I'm hearing more about you, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I just want to keep asking you more and more.
Yeah.
But one thing I did want to mention is just the importance of having people that we look up to in the industry and in the business, and whose careers we would like to emulate, or people we look up to. I would like to ask you, is there an industry professional that you look up to, or who has inspired you to venture off into this entertainment industry? Yeah, I would just like to know that personally for you. Who do you look up to?
Oh man, I have a laundry list of people that just inspires me. Like, and it evolves like over time. I'm like, oh, now I'm in this space, and so this person. But I would say, let's see. Rihanna's my girl. I just love how authentic she is. And I remember when she first broke out all the way till now, and just seeing how she's evolved as a mother, as a woman, as an entrepreneur, as just the it girl,
Yeah.
and just using her voice to amplify and using her voice. Like, I love what she, first rolled out the Fenty campaign, and how it was all shapes and sizes, and bringing it back to casting. And that's what I aspire to do, is just seeing people for who they are. And I feel like she really does. You look at celebrities at times and they just seem so untouched. Like, for me, that's Mariah Carey. Like, I just feel like, oh my gosh, like, she is my idol. And so I'm like, could I be in a room with her? But it's like, but they are people, and just seeing how Rihanna navigates just entertainment and her personal life and business, like that's just all every woman, that you would want to
Yeah.
aspire to be. I love Issa Rae and what she's doing. And when she, like, one, I started with her series Awkward Black Girl, and so I always felt like, my mom put me on, she's like, this reminds me of you. And when I watched it, I was like, what are you trying to tell me? But yes, I am, the that awkward black girl, growing up. And so I just love that, again, unapologetically themselves, and that's the type of women that I gravitate towards. And I love Carmen Cuba, yeah, that casting director. And I just love, what I love about what she does are the people that she casts in certain roles. Like, sometimes, like, oh wow, I didn't know, I wouldn't have placed them, but she sees talent in such a different way, and the way that they're able to bring out the stories. Like, I just love what she does in the casting world. So those are all. And then even Angela Bassett, for her, but I love, she's an actress, and then she also has, sorry to spell it out a little bit.
You're
Can
good.
you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, keep going.
With her, what I love about Angela Bassett is that, she's an actress, but she also has her production company,
Yes.
as far as like acting and casting and thinking like, could I also be an exec? Sometimes it's finding that balance of what you want to be. So all these women are able to balance multiple disciplines at the same
Mhm.
time, and doing it flawlessly, well, as it seems flawlessly to us, we always know that there's hard work going on in the background, but just that public facing and what they do. And then all of them, I would say, always look to bringing other talent, underrepresented voices to the forefront. And that's what I aspire to do in my lifetime, my career. Like, if, God forbid anything happens, that tomorrow someone can say, yes, Maureen was that person that gave me the light. Maureen was that person to make sure to push me in the forefront and making sure that I did my best and my all.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I, for one, can proudly say that you're definitely heading in that direction for sure, without a doubt. So I'm all that to say is that we always need to look up to people who are just walking in the footsteps that we desire to fall after. You know what I mean? And to be able to be that light for underrepresented voices, that's definitely the path that you are leading towards. So I love asking that
Thank
question for
you.
people because you get like a little insight of like what
Mhm.
they aspire to do and what they aspire to be. So segueing into now a fun portion or game that I've actually created for this platform, we're going to do a this or that challenge. But this is
Okay.
a casting director edition.
Oh,
So I have about 10 or 8 questions for you. It's this or that. So you choose one, and we're going to do it rapid fire. We're going to do it quick.
okay. All right.
So
Ready.
don't think about it too much.
Okay.
Just jump in whatever feels right for you. So here we go. First question. Chemistry reads or cold reads?
Chemistry reads.
New face discovery or a known talent?
New face. All day new faces.
Actors' instincts or actors' preparation?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Oh, it depends on the role. I would say actors' instincts. Instincts.
Nice, nice.
Sure.
All right, might get a little harder. One unforgettable audition or 10 solid auditions?
I would say 10 solid auditions. And I say solid because my solids are unforgettable. And so I just had this whole thing about what does solid mean? But for me, that's what it is. Like, solid is like you set the bar and beyond. But
I love it. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, next question. Do we have scripted dialogue for TV or film or an improv scene for TV and film? Scripted or improv?
scripted.
Scripted. Okay, casting for a TV series or casting for a feature film?
No. Oh, man. Oh, both. Oh, my goodness.
Solid answer. Solid
Yes,
answer.
both. I cannot choose.
Okay.
Because they bring
Yes.
different, they're so different, honestly. Like, it's nice to see in the TV series how these characters evolve, and then feature films, I feel like it's a given, but I love both.
Both. Solid answer. No, I agree. I agree with both. Last question. Last question.
Mhm.
Building a long lasting career with someone or booking them for one hit role?
Building. I love
Mm,
relationships, definitely building.
I love that. I love that. Well, first of all, let's give a round of a hand for Maureen. You breezed through these questions. I stumped you on a few, which I feel like I
Yes.
accomplished something, which is pretty
Yes.
awesome.
Great
But oh my
questions.
goodness.
Yeah, these
Oh,
were
of
great
course.
questions. Definitely thought provoking. It's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So thank you.
Yeah, just brushing up on a little bit of research, doing some work and all that type of stuff. But oh my gosh, that was so much fun, Maureen.
This
Oh,
was,
this was
yes.
such a blast. I have one final question for you. It is a
Mhm.
beautiful closer that I always do with all of my guests. And as I mentioned before, here at Aspire to Inspire, we emphasize our guests' passion and why they desire to do what they love and why are they still taking the journey of their careers and still doing what they love still to this day. So, Maureen, the final question I have for you here on this platform is how do you desire to use your platform to inspire others? How do you aspire to inspire?
Oh, wow. You know, definitely. So, EnVe is, a brand that I go back and forth in developing. And what it stands for is empowering yourself and others, never giving up, visualize, and execute. And it's like for myself, like being a woman in those shoes and always in vain, I'm able now to do that with others and able to, amplify them. And so I definitely believe, one, being yourself, two, being pleasant and kind and doing things out of love. I think a lot of times, we're always looking for who's next and who can put me on and who can bring something, career wise. But it's like, no, just be yourself and do it out of love. And it's like my passion for storytelling will always keep me in this business. My passion for seeing people like us, on the big screen and in these complex characters will always keep me in this position of wanting to make sure, like, hey, I see talent, let's put them in. I see potential, and it doesn't always have to be in casting. I get questions from my friends and various people of, hey, Maureen, how do I do so and such, and so just being able to being that advice for people I love. And just seeing people for who they are. Sorry, like I could, yeah, like
No,
I
don't
want to sum up,
apologize. I love it.
everything, but
No,
yeah.
it's so hysterical, especially with this question in particular. People will go on a tangent, and I'm not saying you were on a tangent, but people will go like, "Oh wow, I kind of just spilled my whole life in this given moment." But no, please, please, please know that the purpose of that question is really just to ignite and to remind guests of that fire of why they do what they do, and just the importance of continuing to do so to bring others people along on that journey. So
Yes.
please, no, you sounded perfect. The question was answered to a T, literally. I am so appreciative of you, Maureen, for taking time out of your schedule to chat with me. And
Yes.
oh man, I wish you the best in all your endeavors. You're definitely a light in the industry, and to someone who took a chance on me, I am
Yes.
forever grateful for that opportunity.
Oh, of course. I
Yeah.
love telling your story. Like I tell your story like time and time again because of that, I'm surprised I didn't even like, bring it up here. But I think I just love that you talk about an actor who prepares, is that, and I've told you, I shared with you of how you came about. And it was just like we were auditioning other people. And in the middle of someone else's audition, I tried not to do this, so I apologize to that actor that I did too, because everything was rapid, fast. But I emailed you immediately and was like, "Are you available like right now?" And what was going through your head? And I know we got to wrap this up, but
I would
go ahead,
love
yeah.
to talk about it. Oh my goodness. So I work remotely, and
Uh,
generally, again, talking about networking, talking about building relationships, that was my way of building relationships with yourself as a casting director and staying in the loop with just people, checking in, doing various things. So generally, when I send out an email, I don't think much of it. I carry on with the rest of my life. I saw you responded mid work. I'm like, oh, like this actually worked. So I remember reading it, and you needed someone, and like, could you just read over these lines? And I'm just like,
yeah.
sure, what time? Just again, being respectful, being kind, understanding what was needed in the given moment, and also just again, trusting my instincts. It was very human nature to go into panic or to go into a state of like, woof, this is a lot. But I'm very, very grateful and humble that in that given moment, I trusted myself to be like, whatever time works for you, I can do
Yeah.
it.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I was very calm, and I was just like, okay, when the sides come, I know it's going to be okay. I'm not going to overstress it because you don't know what could come from it. But receiving that email, preparation, I felt like I was prepared. I felt
Yeah.
like I was equipped with what was going to come. And when it came, I was just like, breathe. You got
Mhm.
this. You got
No,
this. Trust
you
yourself.
definitely did. And, I was so impressed that, and I was like, you don't have to, if you're not off script, it's fine, if you're not off book. But you blew it away. And I remember Manny was on the call as well, and he's like, yep, love her. We're texting back and forth, like, I just love her. It's like, and especially you have that innocent look that we're looking for. And, but on top of it, your talent and just you seem comfortable, confident, and it just worked out. And so I'm so glad that we went in this direction. And
Yeah, I'm
yes, like you're
so glad I emailed and just connected with you guys yet again, having auditioned for you guys in the past. But
Mhm.
again, just highlighting the importance for people who are watching, just divine timing, the preparation that comes in hand. It will come at you full circle. The right opportunity will come at you full circle. And
Yes.
I'm forever grateful for that opportunity and so thrilled that you both trusted me with something so sudden and so in the moment.
Yeah.
I know you guys, y'all in the industry, and I know how daunting it can be. But thank you
Yes.
so much for trusting and being able to eye it out and be like, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
get her on there. I
And thank
appreciate
you for
that.
trusting us. It's a two-way street. So thank you as well.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, Maureen, you are a pleasure. And I do have to conclude this because
Yes, yes, I know. We could talk all day, but
we could talk all
yeah,
day, but honestly, I know you have a
yeah,
life and you have things you
yes,
need to do.
yeah.
But oh my goodness, for viewers who are watching, oh my gosh, thank you for tuning in to episode 65 of Aspire to Inspire. More industry professionals will be coming to you guys very, very soon. But in the meantime, peace and blessings and have a fantastic one. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Audio MG.
Thank you so much, Maureen. You were
Oh,
awesome.
I'm still here. Oh, hey.
All
Okay,
right.
so you just stopped recording. I know, and
Yeah.
I realized I was like, I look washed